welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Wichita Vice.
Here we go.
Yeah.
Loving it.
Jess coming at you.
Hey, straight off the helicarrier and off the waters of Caladan, it's your starship captain, Chris with a K.
Straight out of there for Chris with a K. All right, we got to put emphasis on that, okay? All right.
It is. It's with a K.
Okay.
You just killed his vibe.
Okay, I'm sorry.
That's how
I think that was too much, Chris. I think that was an excellent intro.
That was
dude.
excellent.
Yeah, it was. And I just tore him down, cut him off at the knees. I apologize. Chris with a K. All right. Straight from the Fortress of Solitude, it's the off-brand Superman, Marquez Issa.
And this is your host, Carlos in the house, Space Cowboy here. All right, you guys, welcome back. So do not forget to follow Razor Cut Information. We also have other channels we are doing. We have Sports Fellas for all the sports fans out there want to follow up on the NFL playoffs. We also have the Cutting Crew that's finally debuting 2022. We're back at it, new season. Also, we have the new show, Packs and Stacks, for all our fitness, all our nutritionists. So if you're into that kind of thing, this is your show. We also are going to bring in Eric's Fly Fishing Adventures. I'm looking forward to that. So if you don't know how to fly fish or you want to learn how to fly fish, this is your channel. And also, we've already discussed this, but we're going to bring in Anime Insomniac. We need to bring it out, all the anime fans out there. So, all right, so let's go ahead and dive in real quick. And before we do that, on the sites, as I was saying, follow us on Spotify, YouTube, iTunes, and also we have our website as well when we do our contest giveaways. So before that thing, we want to give a quick shout out and thank you to our following sponsors.
Hey guys, have you ever seen those little towns in Kansas and wondered, what's there? Let me tell you about a hidden gem in Salina, Sky Trampoline. It is the perfect place for both family outings and spending the day with friends. They have large open trampoline jump court, a ninja course, a setup to test or develop your parkour skills, and that's not even close to everything. Additional fun can be had in their foam pit, dodgeball area, a laser maze, and even an arcade. They also have specialty events with black light lit trampolines and a DJ. Sky Trampoline is located at 1820 South 9th Street in Salina, Kansas, and is open every day until at least 9 most days and sometimes even later. Give Sarah a call at 785-491-1118.
All right, so we are back to now the DC and Marvel Hero and Villains of the Month. We're back at it. So we'll go ahead and start this off with you, Jesse. Who are you going to introduce on the DC Hero side?
So I'm going to do the DC Hero Cyborg. So I believe he debuted with DC Comics in 1980. Mm-hmm. He was created by Marv Wolfman and George Perez. Affiliated, I think it was Justice League and Teen Titans.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And I believe his abilities are genius level cybernetics and enhancements.
All right. Yeah, so we've seen Cyborg quite a bit. He was recently in that movie, the Zack Snyder, which I love so much. The Justice League, that was much better than the first one.
Yes, it was. Far. It really, really was. I mean, I can't say enough good things about the Snyder Cut.
So Marquez, tell us a little bit about Cyborg.
Oh, yes. There's several different iterations of the character. Actually, this might come as a surprise to you. My favorite, Carlos, is the one on Injustice 2.
I thought you were going to say the cartoon. I was like,
oh boy.
Well, no, just the fact that they flushed him out a little more in a video game. And he fights a nemesis called Grid. Grid is him, basically, but with no organic components. He's actually, you can upgrade the guy and stuff like that. And I beat the game with him on the hardest difficulty the other day.
And
Grid
is also the name of his, like in a lot of the storylines, the name of the internet service, basically.
That's in his head.
Now that internet's a thing, I don't know how big that network deal was back in 1980 when it was first created, but now with the internet and everything, he can pretty much hack anything with those cybernetics. And using Grid is usually the name of that AI that he is in tune with, or he's not controlled, certainly not controlled by, assisted, I guess.
Yeah,
and it's like his personal assistant, his little clippy.
A new term that they throw around in the comic book is called a technopath. Someone who can telepathically link with technology. And I think Grid is kind of his little pathway to that. It's not telepathic. It's just all connection.
Right,
based.
because it's a software, hardware interfaces.
Yeah, pretty
with
much.
his-
And I like this. The thing I like about tech-based characters is that they always seem to be improving.
Well,
You know,
and-
Superman
yeah.
is pretty much topped out. You know, as
Yeah.
far as his powers, his skill sets.
I don't know if he can find a younger son, can he? He's
Well,
got the
no.
yellow son. Is there another son that's even gives him more power? But the crazy thing to me about the cyborg is that about Cyborg is that he becomes a hero when, like, I mean, he had a rough childhood.
Yeah.
I mean, in most occurrences, they don't really get into it in the little Teen Titan cartoons, but in most of the more heavier, heady stuff, like he has some. I mean, his parents essentially abuse him through experimentation. That's how he winds up with his genius level intellect.
Yeah.
And then later on, he gets after accident with it where his mom dies in, I think, a lab accident in the
yeah.
that he winds up and he gets hurt, mutilated. That's when his dad starts putting those cyborg parts into him, and basically
to keep him alive.
to
pretty
keep him
much.
alive. But
Yeah.
it's also kind of a science experiment.
Yeah.
As
pretty
again, and you know, I mean, I can't imagine that living with those. Like, I'm sure there's no textile feel in the hands, and you know what I mean. Like,
Yeah.
he can do all these awesome things, but he can't feel. You know,
So he's like RoboCop
beard.
in a sense.
Yeah. For the most
I
part.
mean, more
Yeah,
advanced and
Yeah,
He just,
far
he
more
just doesn't have
advanced.
that sweet gun.
Yeah.
right. He
In
doesn't
his-
have the
in leg.
holster.
No, he has.
I
I mean, the
He
guy
doesn't
can
have the leg holster.
The guy can fly.
He has a sonic cannon.
yeah. The
I mean, that's
cannon.
cool.
I'd rather
Sonic
have that than a
cannon.
gun.
And then I mean, his
But you guys forget in RoboCop 3, he was able to fly, and he had a missile launcher, and he had a
yeah.
flamethrower. Shout out to RoboCop.
oh,
But right now, I've been watching.
Exactly.
You were saying the Snyderverse Justice League. That's where he's both been recently, big screen, but small screen. I've been catching him on the Doom Patrol,
Yeah.
which is just that really gets into the father-son relationship
yeah.
of why, like, you're the smartest man, you have everything you need. Really, you had to create a living weapon? That's the only way you could have saved me.
yeah.
He was
So-
probably just like, yeah, it's fine. Well, it's fine, right? We'll just
Yeah. So
Killing
it's
machine.
but anyway, I think that's that's one of those things that makes him the really good hero, because he's actually got the good heart. He after all the stuff he's been through, he still wants to.
So what I want to
Yeah.
ask you, Chris, is this character, does he, in the movie, the Zack Snyder or what the Justice League movie itself, do they portray his character? Because you know how the movies and comic books differentiate. Do they give it justice on how he became Cyborg?
I don't think they gave enough to it, really. I think that's a little bit of the thing that really the Snyderverse Justice League failed, is unlike the Avengers stuff, with all those standalones, you got so much more character development leading up to the combined movie, and the Justice League didn't have it. They tried to do a little bit more with it in the Snyderverse release, but you were still missing a lot of that. I think the background and what makes Cyborg.
Yeah, I mean, and that's one of the things that I always thought was interesting about the characters, the father-son dynamic, just how that played out in the Snyder Cut. Yeah, you're right, Chris. They could have fleshed it out a little more.
When I think originally there was plans to develop that character with a standalone movie, but I'm not sure that with Snyderverse, the falling outs and all that stuff, and
Yeah, that's
Ben
another
Affleck's
thing.
not being Batman, like all that stuff's kind of falling apart. So
I just wish he would probably been in another. Since you already know already, Aquaman has a sequel coming out. The Flash has
Yeah.
got it coming out. Batman, the Ben Affleck Batman is going to debut. He's also going to be in the Flash movie, but he's already put it out there that he's not
That's
going to
his
do Batman no
last.
more.
Mm.
And also, Cyborg can have his own movie, but give it some characters. Give it some a villain like you said, Grid.
Yeah.
Give
The
him
way
someone
they
that's going to
fleshed
give him
out.
a hard time.
Yeah. Yeah.
But in the so in the versions like Teen Titans, he's funny. He does all these crazy things. I think that brings the kind of funny, comedic side of him. But on the other hand, in the movie, we keep saying the Zack Snyder version. Because just to throw it out to the audience, there's two versions. There's the Justice League that Zack Snyder did. Then it became a Josh Whedon. Then you have straight Zack Snyder, the
Yeah.
Zack Snyder cut. That's the movie you want to see because that gives it more justice.
That's
to
an
Cyborg.
actual story
Pun intended.
that makes sense. Yeah.
I liked him when he was a football player. Was he a football player in
Oh,
the comic
yes.
books?
Yeah.
Yeah, he
Okay.
was a star quarterback actually.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then-
Because he had his intellect and stuff. And when he was a kid, that's when they did a lot of testing. His mom and dad did, or really, I think more mom did, like genetic manipulation type testing.
Yeah.
But then he went to school and was a great athlete. And
Well, to speak to the father-son dynamic, it was kind of like, he was a star athlete, but his father was telling him, in a world where people could run faster, outrun sports cars, throwing a football isn't really that interesting. So in a way, he kind of made Victor Stone, who just eventually becomes Cyborg, he made him feel less than. And, he basically wanted his father to pay attention to him, and his father was always immersed in his work. And so he went to his lab.
Games and
Yeah, never at the games. And that was kind of one of the things that really resonated with me because I couldn't imagine my son just saying, "Oh well, Dad, I have a football game. Can you come?" And I'm like, "No.
I'm going to play video
I want
games.
to.
this research is too important.
No, and then that's why this character. I like the way that the character through this tragedy, though he was able to bond with his father, and it's too bad it took a tragedy. I don't know if you want to call becoming a superhero a tragedy, but I guess the way that
It's
he
a
did
tragic.
it.
Well, and there's
mean,
many heroes have tragic.
No,
beginnings.
yeah, absolutely. Most,
Especially in DC,
most-
that's a very common
yeah, most.
beginning.
I mean, it
for
seemed like his
heroes.
dad didn't really care about him a whole lot, or just wasn't interested in the things that he was interested in.
Well, he was more interested in his work.
his work. He's just so
Instead
focused
of-
on his
yeah.
work. And really, it was both his mom and dad. They worked together. Or worked in the same facility.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They were scientists all their lives, and that was the focus of their work. Was their lives. So
You know what dawned on me? You guys are not going to believe this. This just dawned on me. In the movie, Cyborg's dad, you remember that character?
Mm-hmm.
He was the same dad that created the Terminators in Terminator 2.
Yeah, Miles Bennett Dyson.
He-
Yeah, he
I
plays
just
it.
thought of
Yeah.
that.
Oh,
I'm like,
the same
the
actor.
actor.
Same
That is
actor.
true, yeah.
Yeah, that's
same
right.
actor. I know
So-
this guy. Like, you guys were talking. I was just drawing the lines.
I
Like,
guess that's his
hey,
niche.
Yeah.
Create murder machines.
Yeah.
inside killer. It was an
Yeah.
inside killer.
Yeah.
Well, that concludes Cyborg there. And on up, we have the DC villain. And I'm going to go ahead and leave this to Marquez.
The DC villain of the month is the Batman Who Laughs. He was created by Scott Snyder and Greg Capullo. I'm familiar with Greg Capullo's artwork here, the work that he did on Spawn. It was really awesome, by the way. But no, the Batman Who Laughs, he's from the Dark Multiverse. Negative Earth 22, I believe. He's pretty much just a Jokerized Batman. He kind of... I read the Batman Who Laughs one-shot, and just to let you guys know, guys, it is gritty, it is dark, it's gruesome, and there are parts of it that are just downright awful, But no, the Batman Who Laughs, he pretty much just, if you take Joker and Batman and put them in a blender, the reason why this character is so interesting to me is because I always wondered what would Batman be like if he finally succumbed to the Joker's madness, and this answers that in a major way. The Batman Who Laughs, in his universe, he was basically, the Joker was beating him. He crippled him with a toxin that took away his strength but kept his mind. And the Joker basically made him watch while he burned the city. He shot people, he shot children, and he was trying to make Batman kill him, which Batman did.
Well, yeah.
About time.
Yeah, no, he snapped the Joker's neck, and then the Joker released a special toxin that infected that universe's Batman. And the Batman knew that he was slowly succumbing to this toxin, and he was telling Superman about it, and Superman of that universe he told him about an incident where a little girl who succumbed to the toxin tried to rip the throat out of her teacher, and then Batman laughed. And then Superman looked at him and like, are you okay? And Batman knew that, okay, this is the start of something horrible. And when the Joker died, he said, I want both of us to become more than what we are. And after that, he called all the Bat family, you know, Robin, Nightwing, Batgirl, to the cave. And he said, you guys, I'm changing, and I need to tell you something. And they basically said, okay, well, we'll fix it. And he said, no, you won't. I'm becoming the Joker. It's me and the Joker's trauma without my morals to keep me together. And he pulled out guns because he knew that they wouldn't suspect that, and he murdered them all. And he finally succumbed to the toxin. He was killing most of his universe, most of his Earth, and he finally watched his Earth burn around him, and then that's when he was approached by Barbados to lead the Nightmare Batman. But that's pretty much the Batman Who Laughs one-shot comic book in a nutshell. But you guys really need to read it because there's a lot more nuanced. You know, I'm leaving a bunch of stuff out, but it's just really awesome.
Yeah, it seems like it's a lot darker than what we're used to.
Yes.
He just made the show dark.
I mean, like really dark. Like
It's the dark multiverse.
Yeah. He's from the dark multiverse.
And they wind up kind of having a goal of just changing their, like, that's when they run into the good side, is when they start, like, they want to create all multiverses.
Well, Barbados,
or something, right?
Barbados, he tells them that, you know, the reason why you always lose is because that the positive multiverses always wins. For there to be dark, there has to be light, and you guys are the light. So the only way we can actually win is to destroy the light.
Sure.
So that's why he leads the Nightmare Batman to basically destroy our universe.
Do you think
multiverse.
you're saying it's pretty gruesome? Is it something that you think is too much for
the
screen at all?
Well,
I mean, I'm sure they've done animated versions, but I mean, like
maybe
live
an
action.
HBO show, possibly.
Definitely. I don't think it's
Straight to the
something.
dark web.
Yeah.
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 Make a movie in Russia. I mean, I don't know.
It could be done, but like I say, there's always that difference, that line that you have to draw between movies and books. And here and again, I always say this, I know, guys, but you know, a movie and a book, they're under different restraints. So of course, a book you can put squeeze more in a book than you can in a movie. Like when people always say, "Well, the book is better," the first thing I say is, "Okay, well, did the book have to succumb to budget restraints, time constraints, scheduling conflicts, you know, director changes, cinematography, editing? You know, how did that? You know, so
you don't have such large environments and all that.
Yeah,
stuff,
basically, what I'm saying is you're going to have to cut a lot out
in order
to meet a time
something with that
restraint. But there's a lot of things I think that I would love to see on the big screen. Like, say for instance, like the other Nightmare Batman. At one point, our Batman, he has had a nightmare about all these Batman. Basically, there were 7 of them. There's the Batman Who Laughs. Then there's the Red Death, who is basically a Batman Flash.
Oh wow.
There's Murder Machine, who's a Batman Cyborg. There's Devastator, who's a Batman Doomsday.
Oh.
There's Merciless, who's probably my second favorite. He's a Batman Ares.
Oh wow.
There's the Drowned. Her name is Bryce Wayne. She's a Batman Evil Aquaman.
Oh, okay. That'd be kind of cool.
And then there's the Grim Knight. He's pretty much basically a Batman Punisher.
I would think the Batman Punisher one would be pretty cool.
Yeah, he's a wicked character. He is a wicked character. The way he kills people in his comic book is just.
Marquez, is there a villain? Is Alfred Pennywise? Is he a villain in this one?
No. Each of the Nightmare Batman, they killed their Alfred in a really horrific.
Okay, we'll just leave that alone.
Right.
Forget Commissioner Gordon.
Poor fella.
Yeah.
One of their first steps down the dark road.
I mean, what would you think about the Batman Who Laughs as like a series?
That would be great. Yeah, just
because that way they've got more time to focus.
Or something along that like dark multiverse type of.
Yeah, all of his villainous exploits. And basically everything that he's because one of the things I never really covered in Dark Knight.
Dexter.
Yeah,
like just have his internal crazy internal monologue that just like, wow, this guy.
Yeah, and they never really went too much into his tech. You know, a lot of the way the comic book reads, it's about the Batman Who Laughs, what goes on in his mind, which is a
Right.
far more interesting.
Well, he does have a little bit of like superpowers, doesn't he?
He's
More so
slightly
than like
stronger.
your regular Batman. Like he's
Batman's more restrained, whereas the
Okay.
Batman Who
basically
Laughs
'cause
is
he's
just
so
chaotic.
disciplined. Yeah, but the Batman Who Laughs is not restrained at all.
Right.
I mean, he has all of Batman's fighting skills, but just he doesn't hold back at all. He is fighting you with the intent to murder you, you
Right.
know. And his tech is pretty much the same as Bruce Wayne's. It's just a little more psychotic flair, you know, just long knives and stuff like that. I mean, they never really go into detail about the tech that the Batman Who Laughs use, or does he use it in a different way? I wish they would have, you know.
So tell me one thing. So they are the villains, and so they're not really even heroes either. On Batman Who Laughs, does he have someone that he battles against in these comic books?
No, he in his universe he killed all the heroes and the villains in his universe, so he doesn't have. So our Batman is his nemesis, I guess. Or
But he can't stand no chance.
you really ought to read Dark Knight's
He's
Metal.
like, you just got to read it. I'm not going to tell you.
When
No,
there's
I
a
can tell you. I mean,
when
he
there's a
just-
will, there is a way. I like that. So
Yeah.
I mean, hey, you know, Batman. He's dealt with what, the Predator in comic books. He's dealt
Yeah,
with
yeah.
other-
it's- But
Man, if you fight the Predator, I mean, that's kind of top of the line right there, right?
no, I guess for Batman. you
Yeah,
know,
I mean,
it depends on who you are. I guess.
Predator's, he's a pretty hardcore dude.
Yeah, but like I say, it depends on who you. I mean, okay, Predator versus Galactus. I mean,
Well,
that's not gonna.
I mean, obviously,
But like I
if
said,
it's
that's
like
what I mean. That's what I mean.
Your basic,
Depending on your
superhero,
yeah. Okay, yeah. For someone like Batman, yeah, that'd be
your average.
what
fella.
I would like to see a crossover: Batman versus the Terminator
That would be cool.
or something, but no, Batman versus the T-1000. Yeah, that'd be.
ooh.
Batman
be
versus
over.
the aliens.
I think they already had that. in
Did they
comics.
really?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's interesting. All right, well, Marquez, thank you for sharing
Oh,
Batman Who Laughs.
absolutely.
That's awesome. I learned something new. So I'm going to avoid that comic book just because it's kind of scary.
Nah,
Yeah, it
man,
is.
I'm gonna read it now. After
Yeah.
that sounds cool.
It was really good.
All
yeah.
right, so now let's go ahead and move on over to the Marvel side. We're going to start off with the Marvel hero, and we have Hawkeye. All right, so right now Hawkeye there's a news here, is Marvel Hawkeye on Disney Plus.
Yeah.
So check that out. I mean, you don't have to say plus, right? It's just
Yeah.
Disney Channel. I'm trying to put emphasis on Disney.
Well, wait, everybody knows, Carlos.
Everybody knows.
Come on.
Disney
All
Plus.
right, Disney Plus. All right, so let's talk a little bit about his character here. So he debuted in Tales of Suspense in 1964, issue number 57. And we know he's created by Stan Lee
Rest in peace.
and Don Heck. Yes, of course. And he teams up with the Avengers and the Thunderbolts and I say etc. because he's teamed up with everybody. It's like,
Spider-Man.
Yeah,
I mean,
he's been
he's
around.
just there. He's just there.
because he's an agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. I mean, and S.H.I.E.L.D. gets their hands and everything, and he's one of the top guys, so he's going to go.
He's just being nosy. That's what it is. It's just
Yeah.
diving in every other team's
Didn't
team.
Black Widow also debut in Tales of Suspense?
Yes,
Yeah.
and we'll talk about that here shortly. So, Chris, you know the skills that he has. He's a master archer.
Yes.
You want to know how did he become a master archer?
How did he become a master
All
archer,
right.
Carlos?
Well, I'm glad you asked because I'm going to tell you. All right. So he is Clint Barton. He was born in Iowa. Give you a hint. Hawkeye.
Iowa, okay.
Yeah, because you know how there's a University of Iowa, the Hawkeyes.
Yeah.
I wonder why he was called a Hawkeye.
Yeah.
All right. So, long story short, him and his brother Barney Barton, they ran away from home, and what happened is they decided to go around and join a carnival. There, they meet the Swordsman, who we will talk about next.
Yeah.
So, long story short, they train. The Swordsman teaches him how to shoot the arrow. The Swordsman sees that he's got skills. Hey, nice shot. You're pretty good. So he gives him the name Hawkeye. That's what happens. He gives him the name Hawkeye. So there he goes. He's living life. And what happens is in this time, the Swordsman, you find out in that time that it was his mentor. And we'll talk about the Swordsman here shortly. But going forward, him and his brother, they're a team together. And then through time, him and his brother have a split. And his brother becomes Trick Shot.
Yeah.
I don't know if you know about Trick Shot. But anyway, so that going forward, we see him teaming up with Black Widow. Now, Black Widow, in the comic books, the Black Widow recruits him because Hawkeye wants to make a difference. And during that time, Iron Man was running the show. Iron Man's the hero. He's got the money. He's the philanthropist. And Hawkeye, a little jealous, low-key jealousy. He's like, hey, I want to do something for my community, I guess. And what happens is that Hawkeye struggles against Iron Man. So then him and Black Widow, because in the comic books, Black Widow is a Soviet agent. And she doesn't like Iron Man because, he's capitalist and I'm communist. And so she recruits Hawkeye because Hawkeye finds a way to deteriorate Iron Man's suit. So he's not, tech smart, but with Black Widow's brains and tactic experience and Hawkeye's experience in shooting and master archery, put those two together, they're a dynamic duo.
Yes, they are.
And then so through time, they get initiated into the Avengers, and going forward in a lot of the comic books, then on to the movies. In the movies, we see that he is already part of S.H.I.E.L.D., portrayed by Jeremy Renner. And you remember his debut was in Thor, the movie Thor. Remember when Thor was trying to get...
I remember that.
Yeah. And you saw from above, and I go, who is that guy? Who is that guy? Then
I knew as soon as he grabbed the bow and arrow, I was like, that's got to be Hawkeye.
It's got to be Hawkeye.
Like just the silhouette.
I saw that. I was like, oh, that's Hawkeye.
Can you imagine that character? He was getting paid all that money just to sit up there, sit up top, just waiting. Do I shoot him or do I not shoot him? And so...
didn't he also founded the West Coast Avengers as well?
Yeah, later on.
Way later on.
Way later on.
Kind of when he was old man.
Yeah.
But
but yeah, he did.
Now that comes into all a wrap, finally he gets his own show. We saw him in Endgame. He was Ronin. Yeah. So I'm going to go ahead and leave the platform to Chris here. So Chris, what do you know about Hawkeye?
Most of what I've seen is, especially recently, the movies. I thought the Disney Plus series was good. I enjoyed that. I've always really liked Hawkeye because he's that non-powered superhero. Yes, he does have techie bow and arrows, but he runs out of those and has to figure his way out often without the use of the arrows, and uses other tricks, and obviously he's a highly skilled fighter. So I've always respected him, similar to the respect, for Black Widow as just being a crazy, awesome beast of a superhero with no superpowers. So
yeah, one of the things, I'm sorry, Chris, I don't mean to cut you off, but one of the things I can't remember what series, I think it was a while back, but they say Hawkeye was pretty adept at pretty much any projectile weapon. He just prefers the bow and arrow.
Right.
I mean, is that right, Chris?
Yeah, and I think they kind of allude to that a little bit in Disney Plus when they show him with the, I think it's a quarter, or is it a bottle cap that he's flipping?
Yeah, that he's flipping.
And he teaches her how to do, to flick it to hit anything, to pinpoint accuracy, flick a quarter.
Yeah, just simple geometry, lining things up and...
And so I think he probably is, and like you said, he just prefers the bow and arrow from his youth and such.
Yeah,
I was just wondering, in the movie, in the first Avengers, everyone's doing their fight. Hulk is smashing, and you got Iron Man doing his thing. But then you look at Black Widow and you look at Hawkeye, and you're like, okay, you guys don't have powers, and they're fighting up there. What are you guys doing? and I'm this is how. Literally, I'm looking at this. I'm counting all the arrows that he has. I'm counting Hawkeye's arrows. Okay, I know you're going to run out.
He can pick some back up on the way.
And he's very resourceful. I mean, the guy's resourceful. I mean, he just goes up, I'll pick this up. Recycle, reuse, and you know what I'm saying? So he's the perfect example of recycling.
Versatile, like Captain America trained him in tactics, martial arts, and hand-to-hand combat.
Yeah.
So he also has that.
Yeah.
Okay, that helps. But again, it answers my question. When he can't fight Thanos.
No.
Not him. Yeah.
With his trick arrows, he can.
Yeah.
The right one. You get the right one.
Yeah. Few people
can got to find it or make it. One of the two.
I always enjoyed using him in the Marvel Ultimate Alliance video games.
Yeah.
He had different powered arrow shots and had the nice long range shooting. You could just stand back and shoot. In the Marvel Legos.
Yeah. And I always like characters that, maybe not overpower, because it's not really the scope of the character's power, it's how they use their power.
Sure.
Really, when you have a dynamic like a video game, that's really where the fun comes in. It's how do you use that power? Yeah, anybody could be put it on God mode,
and most of those, they would have certain things where he had to use his, special sight ability, or
he does have,
have his arrows, only he can hit these certain targets type of deal.
I've always been curious to know, okay, on his personal side, did him and Black Widow ever have a thing?
I don't think that I think it was not. I think they were just friends.
Yeah, in the movies,
he was friend zoned. He was friend zoned.
But in the movies, it makes it sound like something had happened. The way
I think that there was never. There may have been like a time that they almost did, but they're like, no.
But she wears that arrow necklace.
Well, they're like, I mean, I think they're
just close friends.
He calls her his best friend. Multiple times.
So it's kind of like, it's like a Kenny.
She was the best of us.
Is it like a Kenny Rogers and Dolly Parton kind of thing? We're just friends.
Yes.
That's all.
Well, and I mean, you saw it. He's got the wife, which the series expands a little bit on. I mean, he's got like 3-4 kids with his pretty smoking hot wife.
I mean,
and they call her auntie. They call her auntie. But that's MCU though. That's MCU. But in the comic books,
he does fall in love, and I'm sure that she used that to
because she's
she's
a manipulator. Yeah,
It was James Bond time. That's when you're spies. That's what you do. You sleep with everybody. That's what spies do.
Come on. Literally
James Bond.
Yeah, that's
at least 2 girls in a movie, right?
Yeah.
2 different.
For all our audience that are younger, we're talking about just being friends. Okay, we're being friends.
Yes, friends.
Because this is a kid-friendly show too, so we gotta make sure we're.
Yeah.
But okay, I want to say one thing. I loved in the movie, the Captain America Civil War. I liked it when everyone was pairing off, and you see Black Widow and Hawkeye look at each other like. Because they were on opposite sides. Remember, Hawkeye was with Iron Man and Black Widow was Captain America. And, they start fighting. It's like, okay, so are we supposed to be doing this? It was funny that they weren't really fighting each other to full strength. But that was a powerful...
No, it was almost like they were dancing.
Right.
You know what I mean? Just like they've probably sparred so many times in their, life that... And they're not actually trying to fight each other. So that's what I mean. Like it was almost like they were just kind of dancing.
But in Endgame, that kind of sucked though when Black Widow died.
Yeah, it did.
It's unfortunate.
Yeah,
that just bummed me out. How did he become Ronin
in that multiverse?
Okay. How did he become Ronin? Is that a comic book character or that was a movie? Tell me a little bit about when he became Ronin.
Yeah, that was a comic book character. I mean, it was shrouded in mystery. No one knew who Ronin was, and it made sense in the cinematic universe. I guess people deal with what they call the blip in different ways, and that was just his way of coping with it.
He lost all of his family. During his wife and all his kids were gone in the blip.
Yeah,
and he went just crazy dark.
Yeah,
I mean, he was still good because he was taking out all bad guys, but I mean, he was essentially a mob hitman against other mobs.
Yeah.
Now, does he do the same thing in the comic books?
Pretty much, but the reason for
It's
that
different.
is just totally different. I think he wanted to train in Tibet. I forgot what caused him to go there. I think it was something more like a more internalized issue. I don't think it was just there was no blip. Because this takes place way after the events of the Infinity Gauntlet, which is what the Infinity War was loosely based on, the story from the comic. So, but no, it does happen in the comic.
Okay.
I mean, he does become Ronin. It's not just an MCU character.
And he has, and I was going to say, Marquez, thank you for sharing that. I know in his characters, his villains, I mean, he's dealt with Taskmaster, Egghead, also Trick Shot, which is his brother. I mean, he's gotten some villains, and they're not bad villains at all. Because, I mean, Trick Shot and Hawkeye are almost the same thing. They're both archers.
Yeah.
And, Taskmaster, he's able to, in the MCU, it's a girl, but in the comic books, it's a guy.
Yeah.
Taskmaster is able to, learn. And if you want to follow him, we talked about him a couple episodes ago. So if you want to follow Taskmaster and Black Widow, we have that there. But I just want to say that Hawkeye is a fun character to follow. He's unique in his own way, and then especially what Jesse was talking about. What he does is kind of later on he starts training other people. They kind of remind me because we all know. Let's just be honest here, especially with the DC fans here. He is another version of Green Arrow.
Yeah.
Because Green Arrow did come first.
Yeah,
he
he
did
did.
come first. I like
Yep.
Green Arrow, but I just felt that Marvel did a good job giving him a different kind of story. Because Green Arrow, they were just going with the times, and
Yeah.
right now when Iron Man and Fantastic Four, X-Men was on the rise, and Marvel was really killing it. They needed implemented some more characters, and that's where Hawkeye came at the right spot, and he's a fun character to watch, especially
Yeah.
that on the TV show.
Yeah,
So
yeah, he
I
is.
do appreciate Hawkeye.
Yeah, and
I
I
like you, man. I
yeah.
like you. Even if you don't have powers, I like you.
I'll have to watch that the Disney Plus
Yeah.
series.
We'll just keep it Disney.
Are you sure?
Yeah,
it is
okay, let's just say Disney.
It's only on the app, I
Okay.
think. It's only on the Plus app.
Plus.
The Plus app.
Okay, what's the
It is
plus? What do you
It's
get?
the app.
Plus. Okay, with Disney.
It's catchy.
You get,
That's why I put Plus on there.
because
probably.
you have access to National Geographic
Oh.
and
all the Pixar.
it's not just
yeah.
Disney Channel, it's all the Marvel, Star Wars, Pixar,
yeah.
Oh, okay. So that's the
and
plus.
National Geographic and something
I think
else.
some DreamWorks stuff. I don't know.
Yeah, yeah.
I think
Maybe.
I saw a few. I don't know, possibly, but it's a mixture of things.
Yeah. Okay.
So yeah, it is a little bit more than just
So it's
Disney,
it's very
but,
plussy.
but it's a good show.
Yeah.
It brings in our villain as well, who is he kind of walks that line of villainhood, doesn't he, Carlos? I mean, he is,
Yeah.
but he started as kind of a hero, really.
Yay and nay, and that's what I was telling you. And I appreciate how they did in the comic book because, like I said, he was an Iron Man hater. He wanted
Right.
he wanted to enjoy the same attributes that Iron Man had, and the problem was that he wasn't getting the recognition. But speaking of that, let's find out who trained Hawkeye. Do you want to know who trained Hawkeye?
I do. Who trained Hawkeye?
Well, I'm glad you asked. All right. Next up, we have the Marvel villain. It is the Swordsman,
Yeah.
a.k.a. his name, Jacques Du King. It's French. So,
Huh,
throwing
who
it
would
out
have
there.
thunk? Who would have thunk it?
Yeah, I had to put a little French in it.
Okay.
All right, so he debuted in the Avengers issue number 19 in 1965. Yes, he was created by Stan Lee and Don Heck, and we know that he has jumped around different teams. We know that he was in the Circus of Crime and Emissaries of Evil, and he also was with the Avengers for a little bit. So
yeah.
let's talk about the skills that he has. He's a master swordsman. He's good in archery. The guy's in hand-to-hand combat. And also with the sword himself, he has gained extra powers given by the Mandarin. So we'll talk a little bit about the Swordsman here. So he is also debuting in the Hawkeye series. So if
He
you
does.
keep an eye on him. And also, I want
Kind of
to
undercover. but
undercover.
Yeah.
So-
I want to give a quick shout out to our YouTuber Avenger Will. Thank you for your help on that. I do follow you, so if you follow us, Wichita Vice, I'd like to do a collaboration with you sometime. Just throwing it out there because I appreciate the people that help. So he does a real good job in talking about the Swordsman. So let's go ahead and talk about Jacques Du King, aka the Swordsman. So he was in French royalty pretty much. They were in an Asian country because during that time, it's kind of like the same thing, kind of like what was happening during the French Indochina, because during that time they had that presence in Southeast Asia. So in the comic book series, what happened is that he's from French, he's French, and the country is a made up version. It's Hong Kong. It was under the French rule, and so what happened was his dad during that time, it was royalty. He owned land there, and he treated the peasants pretty wrong, kind of in similarity what was going on in the French colony there in Vietnam, especially because they owned in that time Cambodia, Laos, Vietnam, Siam. So they had that presence there. So long story short, the natives were getting tired. They're about to rebel, and Jacques realized that the people were getting treated wrong. They were getting treated real bad. And so he came across a sword that his dad presented to him on his 18th birthday. And it was from the French hero, the French cavalier. And the sword supposedly was by this hero. And Jacques said, hey, this is pretty nice, not bad, but he didn't care about it too much. Then this is the uprising of the native people. They said, we're tired of this colonial rule. And so it's like you see where this is coming from for all the history buffs. It's how the Vietnam War was starting, just kind of the same similarity. So in this time, fast forward, he helps the natives. So he dons on the suit, the swordsman. He's helping them,
Part of the
rebellion. And
so even then, kind of good guy.
Yeah, he was a good guy. He was a good guy.
Good guy-ish.
Good guy-ish. And he was getting ready. He was doing it. And I mean, finally, they got rid of everyone. And he goes, okay, hey, I helped you get rid of all the French people out, and you guys gain your independence. But could you please, because this is what happened during that time, he asked was for safe passage for him and his dad. They hated his dad because his dad was kidnapped. So he goes, hey, let's get him. We'll walk out of here and you guys can have your place. Well, they stabbed him in the back pretty much. And they killed his dad previously. They already killed him already. So they're like, hey, we're not gonna abide by our treaty because you are a French dog like them. That's how they saw it. But with his skills though, he was able to get away. So he got away, came to the U.S. and
kind of went into debauchery and just down a dark hole. Your disillusionment gets shattered, and so he just kind of went down the dark hole and a drunken gambling. Finally, he wound up getting into the carnival, or that's when he finally wound up getting with Clint Barton, taking him and his brother under his wing, and start as he got older. He kind of loses his story there. He just kind of bounces around. Through his 20s essentially, and then in his 30s is when he still has all these skills. He's trying to make a deal, and so he's in a carnival, the Carson Carnival.
Okay, I've never
traveling wonders.
See, what he did was when he because remember what we just talked about in Hawkeye, when Clint and his brother Bart, when they ran away, he saw these kids and he's like, hey, you want me to train you on doing some stuff? And that's how Hawkeye learned from the swordsman. He learned how to shoot the arrow, how to fight, and that's where he was able to pick up his skill. But the problem is that Jacques, he did a critical mistake and he was trying to steal from the circus. Oh. And he got caught. Clint saw him, and he's like, no, I don't like this. And see, Jacques had made some poor decisions and started to do a little petty crime and started to steal. And then we come across, now remember, we have the MCU and we have the comic book. So we know that we dive into both. In the comic book, someone has kept his eye on this guy for a long time, and it is the Mandarin. We know. So you know who the Mandarin is, right, Jesse?
Yeah, we had talked about it in the previous
so the Mandarins keep an eye on him, and he decides, hey, I'm gonna join the Avengers. I want to join the Avengers, but Captain America and Iron Man, they're not having it. They're like, no, dude.
And he doesn't want to actually help. He just wants it so he can get the perks of the Avengers ID.
He's trying to get their stock options.
Right, exactly.
Trying to get the dental plan.
He's still up in that Avengers pool on the penthouse.
Right.
Yeah.
But so then during that time, he's Captain America don't trust him. He don't trust him. And they go at it in a while. And so then what happens is he goes back into stealing, working for other crime lords, and just trying to make ends meet. And then what happens is the Mandarin kidnaps him, teleports him to his place, and goes, hey, you know what? I want you to take out the Avengers. He wanted to be Avenger. You know how he was trying to be an Avenger? He tried to kidnap Captain America.
Yeah.
That's really gonna work.
Wow.
So. And during that time, this is what's hilarious. The Mandarin tells him, hey, I'm going to enhance your skills. I'm going to enhance your powers.
Gives him a cool sword.
The guy, it can throw out lightning bolts, flames.
Do a lot of the powers that the Mandarin kind of does.
Pretty much. Yeah, like just a little here and there.
And that's the old school Mandarin with the rings, not
the
actual finger rings that uses Makluin. I think that's
it's got Makluin technology on that sword.
Right.
So, and during that time, when he comes back, he's fooling everybody. He's saying, hey, I'm a good guy now, you guys. Join, I want to join the Avengers. submit his resume application,
Yeah.
their background check, and if the background check don't do well because Captain America's like, dude, I don't trust
Well, and
this
I think
guy.
he's like wanted in different states.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
he ran
states for gambling or for theft and things like that.
So yeah, he had a hard time getting in, but finally he gets in, and he's liking the Avengers. He's like, this is where I need to be. I think I respect these guys. But what happens is that someone plants a bomb in there. He's trying to decipher the bomb, and Captain America's kind of he walks in and he sees that. What are you doing? And he's thinking, no, it's not like what you think. And then he's like, okay, you think I'm guilty. There they go at it. They fight, and then he goes off again. And they just don't trust him. So during his whole time in these comic books where he's making these appearances, he's just trying to, he does good, he does bad, does good, does bad. And he has his run-ins with the heroes. But then later on, he falls in love with Mantis. You know who Mantis is, right?
Mantis. Oh, the lady from Guardians. With
Yes.
the Guardians of the Galaxy.
Exactly.
She can sense emotions. She can make you feel certain emotions.
Right.
Okay, yeah.
So in the comic book, he falls in love with Mantis.
Okay.
And but Mantis has got the hots for Vision.
Oh, wow.
So
That's
in the comic,
Wanda's-
so you already made the Swordsmaster mad already because you're not giving him no play. So what happens is there he goes in his fighting mode. But now that we've kind of just stretched out to what he's been doing, long story short, he's one of those villains. I would say he's more on the villain side.
Sure. Well, even when he's a hero, he's doing it for himself, which isn't a heroic act.
So I guess he's kind of like on the line, like the gray line, basically.
Yeah, I
He's
mean,
kind of like sometimes you
Yeah.
do good, sometimes you do bad.
well, and he's like
more
the
bad than good.
good bad guy. Like if it gets too much death and stuff, he's gonna be like, I just wanted to rob a bank, man.
Yeah.
I didn't mean to kill like these 15 people. I'm sorry.
Like he just wants that. He's a noble, and I think he just wants that easy life.
Yeah, see, now that's the thing. All this continuity makes me think, okay, in the Hawkeye show, where's he going to land?
I know.
I mean, what is he going to do? I mean, is he going to be
I think
on
he's going to be on that gray line where, obviously he didn't mentor Hawkeye in the MCU because he just comes in here when Hawkeye's a grown at the end of his career, not the beginning. But I think he's going to have some effect on Kate Bishop. I think there's going to be some training because that's really the Hawkeye show. Although it did get into Hawkeye himself, it was really more a kickoff to. It was more of a passing of the torch to Kate Bishop.
Yeah, and she does eventually don the role of Hawkeye.
And so I think that's where they're going to have Jack roll into the story. I mean, obviously he starts out as her mom's fiance at the beginning of the show. So, I think there's going to be some tie in there because there's a lot of division between Kate Bishop and Jack at the beginning, and I think that there's some. She wants to get to know him there by the end.
Yeah.
Like she feels bad about the way she treated him to begin with, and kind of wants to push that relationship.
Yeah, it
So
seems
I think there's going to be some development there. It could even be if they wind up taking that off the series into a big screen. I could see them like he mentors her at the beginning, but then at the end, like she finds out that he's actually the one that's been pulling some strings that. This thing that's happening, and she has to take him out or take him down at the end.
Why not?
Because that's always a good story, the mentor.
Why not join him in the dark event? Like have the swordsman, Taskmaster, have some group of villains get together.
I think what's going to happen, the Dark Avengers is going to be similar to the Suicide Squad in that they're going to take the guy. So yes, I think it's going to be guys like Jacques Du King, Yelena Belova. And some of those folks, and they're good, but they're not going to come from jail necessarily. But it's going to be like
probation.
I think it's going to be like a mercenary deal. Like someone's going to be like, "Hey, we've got this essentially suicide mission out to space or to the." It's probably going to be something space oriented. I mean, because Marvel's definitely moving towards a galactic.
Oh, definitely.
Story line
with the way that the Eternals ended.
More and more.
Yeah.
Don't say I'm watching that. I know we've discussed Eternals before.
Oh,
so
you haven't seen it?
I'm I'm like 20 minutes from having seen it.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
I've seen most of it, and I
Okay.
can kind of see where it's going. Like Icarus just turned, so
And I'm just so excited how I mean, Disney, and this is the part about Disney. They can find every single scrap pretty much in the Marvel and Star Wars and make something of it, which you got to give them credit. They're able to pinpoint, okay, this character here, we'll make it a character.
Well,
We can do a show here. We can make a movie here. And I said, the Swordsman, that's perfect, introducing them in Hawkeye.
I think it's a great way because obviously you didn't have the Hawkeye standalone movie, which would have been the only other real way to introduce him, as he was naturally like had they had the Black Widow and Hawkeye movies properly in the timeline prior to the original Avengers movie, they could have done that today in today's market, but it wasn't ready yet back when they did the first Avengers movie.
No.
So yeah, I think
no.
it's a good way to get him in there. Now that the Hawkeye characters progressed past the point they could have put it in,
Indeed.
without doing some prequel series. But I don't know that Hawkeye really is quite big enough of a character to get his own.
I would like to do is what
He's
they need
not
to do.
Iron Man.
No, what they
He's
need to
not
do is
Thor.
what they need to do on his show is team him up with somebody else and make an appearance. Like
They could
Here
have
and
done
there.
a great buddy, but they could have had Black Widow and Hawkeye do a buddy trilogy. That would have been awesome.
Yeah.
Like have like each there's flashbacks, so you get to see him grow, but then you get to see that relationship between them as it's. I mean, that would be a great. They'd be back and forth. I mean, those two, like Jeremy Renner and Scarlett Johansson's character, the way they portray those characters on screen, already had that great. Like they could give each other the look, and it's like each other knew what was going on. You know, just that.
Or why not? Why not start throwing him in for season 2? Maybe do the Falcon and Winter Soldier. Throw him
Yeah,
in,
that'd be great.
and then they
Yeah.
can challenge against Baron. The villain from Captain?
How great would he be if he was
US
the leader
agent?
of the?
Captain America's villain. What's his name?
Baron Zemo.
Baron Zemo.
What if
Yeah.
he's the leader of the Dark Avengers
Right.
as
Yeah.
Ronin?
Yeah. Something like that.
That would
Mind
be crazy.
blown.
That would be
Yeah.
crazy. Well, you
Sorry.
guys, that
And
concludes.
then takes Jack with him.
Yeah, it takes
Yeah.
him with, that concludes the show. You guys, we're back on track now with the Marvel and DC. Stay tuned. Also, we're going to have also coming up Silver Cosmo movie reviews. We are going to be doing The Matrix, all 4 so far, because we don't know if they're going to do any more. Before we go, any shout outs before we leave? Jesse.
I'd like to take a shout out for you guys for listening. Appreciate you. And to my dad as well. Thank you.
Yeah, shout out to the audience and just my family, wife, and kids.
Same here, everyone.
Also, I want to thank the friends and family. You know, of course, I want to thank the people behind the scenes. Thank you, Eric. Thank you, Powell, for making the designs. Thank you, Andrew. And for the people who believed in this show, I want to thank Leo, and also want to thank there's one more person. There's one more person I want to say, and of course, God. God always first before anything. But I also want to thank the following people. You know, I want to thank you, Chris. Thanks for keeping in. Thank you, Marquez, for sharing your knowledge. Jesse, thank you very much. We're going to get ready to do our show here shortly. And also to the friends and family and also the audience. Also, stay tuned for the new shows that we'll be doing. The Cutting Crew, Packs and Stacks, Eric's Fly Fishing Adventures. And follow us online and also on the website. So we thank you, and we're out.